I'm Steve Ehrman, and I'm going to talk about summer pruning. And I have an apple tree here that is a pink pearl. This tree is on a standard rootstock. That means that it was never grafted, and a standard tree has the potential to be really, really huge. In fact, there's a great example of a standard tree in the background that is well over 20 feet tall. So if one summer prunes, we can attempt to put some dwarfing effect on the tree. If we allow all the growth from a year's production from spring to fall to go back into the tree's trunk and roots, then the following spring the tree has a tremendous amount of potential to grow. But by pruning it in the summer, we will cut back a lot of the tree's production and steal the carbohydrates from going into the roots and the trunk. So this tree has put out a lot of verticals. Each branch has an apical meristem. The apex is the top, and each one wants to grow vegetatively vertically, and that's not good for fruit production. That's good for producing a bigger tree. So in the summertime, you can make heading cuts or thinning cuts. Heading cuts would be just reducing the length of this. This is about 2.5 feet tall. You could bring it down, cut to an outside bud, and remove it, and go through, leaving perhaps 1/4 of an inch above the bud. Here's the leaf, and the axil of every leaf is a bud. You cut about 45 degrees above the bud, leaving 1/4 of an inch. In the following year, you will not even see where this cut was made. Remove this on all this vertical growth. The tree has already had its apple production. The apples were ready in the beginning of August. So I'm cutting this rather dramatically because I don't want this tree to get too big. So these are heading cuts. Thinning cuts would be to take a branch all the way down to the bottom and remove it entirely. So that's also kind of radical in stealing back production. Here's a branch that's growing close to another branch. There's crossing. We don't need both. We'll take out the inner one with a thinning cut and do a heading cut or a reduction cut on this branch, cutting it down, leaving a few buds, and go through the whole tree doing this. Because ultimately, if you don't cut this back, the tree has a potential to grow to be an extremely big tree. Also, a point to be made on not leaving stubs. Let's say if I were to cut this branch here and leaving 1.5 inches between the bud and my cut, this segment will die down. It cannot produce another branch. So this area from here to here will die. And that becomes food for fungus. And then the fungus can penetrate down further if it has enough food to do it. So we'll just cut it right here. And that's a good proper cut. The leaf fell off, we don't need it anyway. So this will take a bit of work because there are so many vertical branches, vegetative branches going upward that will not produce fruit. They're not going to be inclined to produce fruit. The fruit is on spurs. These are apple spurs, short spurs, very, very short branchlets. And this is on one going down. So if the branch is going 45 degrees, if You can also tie them or use prop sticks, and then it will be inclined to produce spurs. But if they're only going vertically, that's much more for vegetative growth. Well, this one actually has some spurs down here, but above the spurs, you've got 2.5 or 3 feet of vertical growth, and you don't need all that growth on this tree, especially since we've already removed the apples. So you could spend an hour here just going back and cutting, reducing these, and doing some thinning cuts, because there are really too many branches for what you need. Branches going inward, branches that are crossing, and certainly anything that is dead, diseased, or dying, you remove.